Do you know the saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it? I don't think any other car reflects this better than the Mazda CX-5. This, by the way, is the second generation facelifted model. I insisted the press car had the Zircon Sand paint, so someone would actually notice this is the new model in the YouTube thumbnail.
We often joke about VW making modest changes when it comes to facelifts or even new generations. Mazda seems to be even better at this game. Not only the facelift carries very few changes, but even the second generation was, in my opinion, more of an extensive facelift than a new generation, perhaps with the exception of moving the A-pillar 3.5 centimeters back.
So what's changed after the facelift, beside 10 new colors and fluorescent accents here and there?
There's a new 10.25-inch display, my Mazda app was updated, the infotainment system interface was also updated, a 360 camera was added, and an anti-theft alarm is now offered as standard. Also, some minor improvements were made to the engines and the automatic gearbox. Typical Mazda, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
One more change is in the boot. This is the Newground trim and it gets a so-called active floor. Active as in you're an active person or you're going to get some dirty clothes and shoes inside the boot. So one side of the floor is lined with your regular carpet and the other one is lined with hard washable plastic. Also the spare wheel well is lined with plastic. There is no spare wheel, just a repair kit.
Regardless of the trim level, the floor is split into half. You can drop one or both halves. When you drop just one, you can slide it underneath the second one, thus gaining convenient access to the underfloor storage. It's a shame there are no shopping bag hooks, but I like the levers to fold the backrests, including a separate lever for the middle section. The boot capacity is 506 liters in 5-seat configuration, 1620 liters with the seats in the second row folded. The cargo cover doesn't fit under the floor, the boot can be opened and closed with a remote control. By the way, I don't like the design of the new one, which is large but has tiny buttons on the side, or with buttons on the lid. There is no separate button to lock the car.
The doors open wide, giving you better access to child seats. Isofix mounting points are on the outer rear seats, but not on the front passenger seat. The doors cover the sills, so that's good, and the door pockets are quite large.
There are also pockets on the front seat backrests. There are air vents in the middle, no third zone climate control. And what about USB ports? They are in the armrest storage. If you go for a version with heated rear seats, the controls are also in the armrest. Of course, legroom and headroom is generous for someone like me. I'm 175 centimeters tall and the driver's seat is set to my driving position.
In the front there are large door pockets and large cup holders. Now the glove box and storage under the armrest are average size. Under the armrest are 2 USB ports and a 12-volt socket. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are wired, which may be a good thing because the optional wireless charger is rather shallow and phones are likely to slide out of it.
Beside the aforementioned wireless charger and a larger infotainment display, another kind of novelty is the new instrument cluster. We've seen it in other new Mazda models. Instead of a display on the right side next to the analog speedo and rev counter, now the speedometer in the center is a digital display. The rev counter as well as the temperature and fuel gauges are analog. The fuel gauge readout is also presented in digital form for some reason.
One more thing about the refreshed infotainment. I don't know whether it's a software supplier or Mazda's choice of hardware, but since about the 2013 Mazda 3, the sat-nav just can't keep up with what's going on in real life. It's especially annoying when you really don't know where you are and you hit a roundabout. If you don't memorize which exit to take before you enter the roundabout, the sat-nav won't help you. It just can't keep up when the car is turning. But I assume you're going to be using Google Maps anyway. By the way, directions from Android Auto are not displayed on the head-up display. But at least Mazda fixed the old problem of speed limit information disappearing when you plugged in Android Auto. Now everything works fine.
Depending on the market, the Mazda CX-5 can be had with Skyactiv-G or Skyactiv-D engines. The petrols are 2-liter 165 or 2.5-liter 194 horsepower. The diesels are 2.2-liter 150 or 182 horsepower. There's a choice of front-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, manual and automatic. This is a 2.5-liter petrol with all-wheel drive and a 6-speed automatic gearbox, no manual transmission for this engine. And since it's all-wheel drive, here comes my diagonal approach test. The goal is to stop with two wheels diagonally having limited traction. This is probably the most challenging situation a car like this may ever face. By the way, the ground clearance is, depending on the wheel size, 185 or 193 millimeters. In normal mode, the CX-5 was not able to start moving again. The traction control button disappeared, so all I could do was try the off-road mode. In the off-road mode, more torque is sent to the rear wheels, which allowed the car to get moving again. And what about performance? The 2.5-liter all-wheel drive CX-5 should do 0 to 100 km per hour in 9.3 seconds. I managed 9 in normal mode and 8.6 seconds in sport mode. Depending on the gearbox, the CX-5 can tow 1800 kilograms with a manual transmission or 2 tons with an automatic transmission, that's for petrol engines, and diesels 2 and 2.1 tons respectively.
I said it before in my review of the Mazda 6 with the same engine, and I will say it again. Regardless of the declared acceleration and real acceleration, the 2.5-liter Mazda doesn't feel quick. In normal mode. It's much better when you put it in sport mode, but I suspect you mostly drive in normal mode and you don't remember to switch to sport just before overtaking. Perhaps paddle shifters would help, but that's available only on higher trim models. If I had to choose a CX-5, I'd go with the 165 horsepower all-wheel drive manual. I know the automatic transmission is more comfortable around town, but I just don't like how slow it is to respond. And Mazda manual is just brilliant, and interaction with the car compensates otherwise mediocre performance.
Also, a 2.5-liter petrol engine in a city SUV. Mazda claims the CX-5 with this engine uses around 8 liters per 100 kilometers combined, more than 10 in the city and around 7 on the motorway. These are realistic results, but you can do better with a 2-liter manual, especially in the city.
Enough complaining, the Mazda CX-5 has some positives as well. Despite what I keep reading on the interwebs, the car is quite well soundproofed. Only under hard acceleration the engine noise becomes noticeable, obviously. Also, at 140 km per hour, revs don't even touch 3000. The A-pillar does limit visibility, but at least there is not much wind noise. The suspension feels sophisticated and the car is well screwed together, so I am tempted to compare the CX-5 to some more premium cars. We're talking CX-5, calling the Mazda 3 premium is far-fetched. Handling is engaging enough to keep you awake, but at the same time uncomplicated for your daily commute.
The seats are comfortable, there's even lumbar support adjustment if you go for the higher trim with seat memory function. The Newground gets electric seats but no memory function, which I think is dumb. Also, I wouldn't mind sitting a bit lower, maybe then I could see more around the A-pillar. Prices of the refreshed Mazda CX-5 start at €28,290. A mid-range model will set you back 38 grand. This 2.5-liter all-wheel drive Newground costs around 40,000. And no, this does not include adaptive cruise control because it's available only on higher trim models.
I have mixed feelings about the Mazda CX-5. On the one hand, it still gets engines with more displacement than a Saki Cup, which is great, but on the other hand, a turbo would be nice, and we don't get turbo in Europe. And yes, this is a European emissions problem. Everywhere else, Mazda gets turbo petrol engines, which makes Mazdas much more fun. The CX-5 adds up to a third of Mazda global sales, so if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And how do you like the Mazda CX-5, and which drivetrain combination would you choose? Let me know in the comment section below.
If you like my sarcastic, down-to-earth and possibly mildly amusing car reviews, join me every Friday at 3 p.m. Central European Time, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video as it helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.